Hey, we're back with Recovery 180, and today we got Kevin, who happens to be on the east coast of Canada. I'm on the west coast, so we are basically bringing Canada together here, Kevin.
Absolutely. I'm pleased to be here and thank you for the invite.
Yeah, so let's start right off the top. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you got your beginning, and where you started walking and running.
Well, it's a big story. We'll try and condense it a bit, but real quick, born in Vancouver, raised in Surrey, BC, and uh, went to church growing up. So I
Hmm.
grew up in certainly what I would consider not a mega unhealthy atmosphere. I
Right.
went to Sunday school, went to youth group, and the whole thing. Um, there was you know, I guess you could probably describe my faith background, which we'll go there because it's the most important thing in my life today. However, my faith background was probably similar to a lot of kids growing up. It was something that was forced upon me, or I felt like
Mhm.
it was at least as a young kid.
Right. Right.
Even right to you're going to go to Christian school, and not that those things were bad in and of themselves. I found at some point in my life that I just wanted to run and be rebellious,
Mm.
be rebellious. And I would say probably about 14 or 15, I would kind of describe it as rebellion entered my heart.
Mm.
And I would say,
So you're just tired of the rules, or you just
tired of the
wanted to do
rules.
you want to do your own thing?
I wanted to do my own thing. You could see what the other kids were doing, and you could hear about what maybe was suggested as fun, and I wanted to try it. I think I had my first cigarette at our cabin down in Bellingham
Hmm.
at probably 14 or 15, and it felt like I was one of the cool kids.
You
And
were there. You were there. You had reached it.
I reached it. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. It was like we were having a little campfire behind one of the guys' houses at this anyway one of my friends' places, and the guy was smoking, and I said, "Man, I'd love to have a cigarette." He goes, "I'll give you one, but you got to smoke the whole thing." Never forgot it. Anyways, I smoked that thing like a trooper, and from then on, I kind of liked smoking, and then that's like certainly a gateway to some other things, and then got into a bunch more from there. So,
So to that cigarette, did you feel any guilt? Did you think that, oh, wonder what my parents would think? Did you have that in the back of your mind?
well, I mean, when you're first starting out, of course, you're trying to hide everything, and for years, we would, I say we, me and all my buddies, we all started smoking,
Hmm.
and hiding all that stuff. And then, of course, it turned into from cigarettes. Then it was let's smoke some weed, uh, let's get drunk. All the things that go along with that lifestyle.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't say I was off the rails,
Hmm.
but um, loved partying at a young age.
So coming home, trying to whisk off your clothes so there's no cigarette smell,
Oh my
and
goodness, I used to carry deodorant around with me,
yeah,
gum and mints, and we would have wipe speed stick on our fingers so that we wouldn't smell. It was. I don't know how we didn't get caught. Maybe they knew and they didn't tell us. I'm not.
yeah. So that's all around that age of 14, and
Yeah, 14,
you're
15.
starting to
Yeah,
stretch yourself a little bit. So
turning a corner.
how was that change starting to affect high school? Was that tough on the school side of things, or?
Well, I was at a Christian school at the time. That's where I got introduced to weed and a little bit of partying. And in first week in grade 11, I remember I told my parents, I'm not going to this Christian school anymore. I'm going to the public school in Cloverdale.
Hmm.
And I just put my foot down and I said, I'm not going back to that school. And, I really left them with a tough decision. And it was either
So
that or I wasn't going to go to school. So ended up going to public school. And there was nothing wrong with the school necessarily, but I wanted to be around with the wrong people. So,
yeah, so did they say, well, why don't you want to go to the Christian school? Why do you want to go to public school?
well,
What was
you
your
know,
excuse?
I think as a young kid, I could think up 100 excuses. Probably something that was a lie, like oh, they have better electives at
Yeah.
the public school, or there's more opportunity, or some baloney that I would have thought up for sure.
Well, and they knew you were the scholastic one, so that's what
Oh
they
yeah,
were going to benefit you in that way.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to soar into my dreams of being a genius.
An entrepreneur, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you left the Christian school, went to the public school. For what, the last 2 years of
The
your
last
high?
2 years, and then yeah. So I mean, I got to live it up. I partied. I did what I wanted to do in those years. Started
Hmm.
to smoke pot and drink and do all the things. I certainly wouldn't consider myself off the rails still. I knew I wasn't living right, but I
Hmm.
also was enjoying my time. I started getting all sorts of girlfriends and the whole thing, and just living for me.
You were one of the popular ones then in the school?
I wanted to be.
Yeah,
I
you're
think,
working on it.
you know what? I think I was hanging out with a bunch of people who wanted the same thing. I don't know. The people. I could look back now and think, oh my gosh, the people I thought were cool. They just really weren't.
Hmm.
They were just trying. They were just trying to be something just like me.
Yeah, you wonder about them today, right?
Yeah, and a lot of those folks aren't doing so hot, and the people
Yeah,
that you weren't, the cool folks, they're actually quite cool now.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So
I
you
was,
got so you crawled your way through high school, partied
yeah,
your way through high school.
I did pretty well. I got an honor roll. Uh,
Ooh,
Grade 12, graduated high school, and I did fine. I got right out of high school. During high school, I started working in a bread um, as a bread man. So I had a delivery route,
oh,
and
okay.
so by the time I turned 19, I was right into it, and I wanted to buy a bread route franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I did turn 19, that's actually what I did. My folks helped me to do that, and yeah, I started my delivery route, and it
And
was quite. I was a young entrepreneur. I actually was. All jokes aside, I actually was quite entrepreneurial. And
mm-hmm.
I had a bread business, bought a truck, took out a big loan, and I started delivering bread full time, and it was great. I actually did really well at it, um, and by then I had been, I would say, somewhere in the middle of my bread career. I started dabbling in a few harder things,
Mm,
some cocaine.
mm-hmm.
So I tried crystal meth maybe once, but I knew it wasn't, it certainly wasn't a lifestyle for me. However, cocaine was starting to be a thing on the weekends and more and more. And then, of course, I'd use it to stay up all night. And anyway, that was I think that was a bit of a dead end because I wasn't pretty cautious about getting into too much of a mess at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
then one
So is it
day,
so is that affecting your work at all?
uh, it, I wouldn't say it was affecting it in a negative way. Not at that point.
Mm-hmm.
No, no. I was too amateur at that point for it to affect me. It was small amounts and not taking over my life. So
So literally the bread that you were making and selling, the money that you were making from that bread was going into the drugs then.
a little bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a
Uh,
dad joke right
I
there.
was still, yeah, for sure. I was staying pretty responsible up until that point, but it just keeps getting worse for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So what did you hit some hard points then? Did you hit the
well,
wall or?
here's what happened. When I was 19, I met my now and still current wife, um, who's my wife of 26 years,
Mm,
and I met her on my bread route.
mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was living poorly. I was At that point I was dealing a bit of drugs. I was partying with, just hanging with the wrong people, and I knew in my heart of hearts that I was supposed to go back to my Christian roots.
Mm,
And and so when I met this young lady, we hit it off right away.
mm-hmm.
I said all the right things to her, and she was a Christian lady. She was going to church
Mm-hmm.
and she was at Bible study and all this stuff. And I knew all the right things to say because I grew up in the church. And I kind of jokingly call it my God. I put on my God facade,
Mm-hmm.
and I think my intentions were I think I could actually easily just we'll say be a Christian or
Mm-hmm.
act like a Christian, and not that those were. Um, I wouldn't say I was like I said, bad intentions. It wasn't bad intentions. There was no ill will there. But I
Yeah.
can tell you, I did not have the Lord in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But I could act the part. And
So you were trying to
when I
convince her that you were gonna.
failed, I actually quit a bunch of stuff and kind of dropped a bunch of friends in those early stages. And we got married within 6 months.
Oh,
It
okay.
was beautiful. It was actually quite pure in that regard. I just fell in love. We both fell in love. It was great.
So were you thinking at that point then that you were willing to give up all of that lifestyle for her? or were you going to just hold on to a little bit maybe?
Well, I mean, I think there was a little bit being held on to in my heart, but at the time, I was cutting all of those things out.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
still smoking cigarettes and stuff, but like, for the most part, I was trying to live well.
right, right.
And then a week before I got married, my brother introduced me to crystal meth,
Mm.
and I tried it once before. It was no big thing, but I tried it this time, and I tell you, I was hooked. I was hooked instantly. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was, let's do this tomorrow, let's do this the next day, and so on and so forth.
Mm. Hmm.
Coming into my wedding day, I mean, my wedding day was May 22nd, 1999, one of the hottest days on record, and I was sweating my head off.
I
Not
just,
just because I was getting married and had nerves. I was high as a kite. It was tough. It was,
so,
you know,
oh yeah, so you were high on your wedding
oh
day.
my, oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, I was using crystal meth in my nose
Hmm.
quite a bit at that point, and only a week in, but
Yeah.
I was locked and loaded.
You were hooked.
I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't know I was hooked. I just was doing it because I would get up in the middle of the night, 2 in the morning, to do my bread route every day, and I'm getting married, and it just seemed really convenient, to be quite honest, at the time.
Just to speed up everything a little bit.
It was speeding everything up a little bit and making me, stay awake.
So how did you, or how did your wife then find out what was going on, or did you break it to her or keep it under
No,
wraps or?
absolutely not. No, I hid that. I hid it pretty well for a number of months into our marriage.
Hmm.
I mean, she suspected, like, she was like, "Man, why are you acting weird?" Even our wedding night, I was acting weird. It just wasn't great.
Hmm. Hmm.
Certainly, I can look back, it's embarrassing still. However, we'll say a couple, 2 or 3 months into our marriage, we were camping. Her friends were wondering what was wrong with me, and they confronted me, and they just told me, "You're using drugs," and I said, "I am," and that was, obviously a groundbreaking moment for our early marriage. We're
Hmm.
newlyweds, and she's married to a guy who's hooked on meth, and it wasn't pretty, it wasn't fun, it was super unenjoyable, but and that was pain.
Did
You
it,
call
was it, yeah, was it did it feel a little bit of a relief when they asked you straight up like that?
I don't think so. I think that
No.
the jig was up. I mean, I was embarrassment and shame, and all those things. They really
Hmm.
weigh heavy on you because I never wanted to hurt my wife,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to be honest, I didn't think I was really that hooked. But I mean, I definitely was looking back.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I mean, so we had some conversations. They were pretty tough conversations, but it was pretty straightforward. You're getting help now.
Hmm.
That was that. So um, I got myself booked into a place out in Abbotsford called King Haven Treatment Center,
Hmm.
and they shipped me off to King Haven.
All the way from the Maritimes.
All the way from Langley. No, I
Oh
was
yeah,
I
you're
was
in Langley. Yeah.
yeah, I'm in BC, so yeah, I'm a 20-year-old guy.
So how long of a program was that?
30 days. I
Oh,
thought,
30
well,
days. Huh.
that'll fix me. That'll fix me.
Yeah.
So I got there. Long and short of it, I lasted 1 week,
Mm.
and I had, in my young, arrogant 20-year-old state, I had learned so much in this week that I was a new man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thanks for all the tips, guys. This is good. I'm clean now. It's been a slice. I got to go back to work, and I convinced my wife and mom that I was good to go,
Hmm.
and I left. Went back to work, and you can imagine, how long that lasted.
So yeah, how many days did you go before you used?
I couldn't recall, but if it was a week or two tops, I would guess that would be max.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
was using pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this ongoing cycle. It was the start of a cycle of in and out of messes and getting
Mm.
caught. And then it wasn't great. It wasn't great at all.
You guys are still together, you and your
We're
wife?
still, we're still together, but for some reason she was hanging on.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, it wasn't pretty. Now, however, we in there, I had some clean spells to which we, we got pregnant, and we were, we were expecting a child at some point in there in our first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So our beautiful daughter Taya, she's going to be born, and I'm just thinking back to some of the moments that addiction stole from me. Well, I was in full blown addiction while my wife was giving birth in Abbotsford, and I'm out in the parking lot. Literally, I can see the hospital from the 7-Eleven parking lot where I'm using crystal meth in my car, while she's up there, in labor with her, her own dad by her side and no husband.
Mm-hmm.
It was, a low point to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed out on some of the key moments. I got my wedding. It was, certainly messed up. My daughter's birth messed up. So
Yeah. So did that roll along then for a while like that, or?
it rolled along like that for a while. I went to King Haven a second time. Um, don't I think I got kicked out the second time. I'm pretty certain of it, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I ended up going to another place over in Maple Ridge. It was a longer program. I thought, oh wow, I'm going to go to a place. It's so far from Langley. It's across the water. And back then there was a ferry between Maple Ridge and Langley.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought, well, I'm so far from anyone I know. And I tell you, the first or second day I was there, we were walking up to an NA meeting while I was in the program, and I see a guy I know in Maple Ridge. So within 2 or 3 days of being in this new program, I'm using meth again. I'm ripping off I'm ripping off the bicycle store. I'm stealing things from people's cars. I'm in a program, but I'm in full blown addiction and trying
Wow.
to hide it. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. So that did that roll for a while, or what?
Well,
You must have hit the wall somewhere.
I hit the wall. I hit the wall a bit later. Here's what happened. My wife got tired of it, and she
Mm-hmm.
said, "I'm going to Nova Scotia where to spend time with my mom, and if you want a life with us, you're coming here, or we're done."
Mm-hmm.
So I, of course, big decisions, but I ended up moving to the East Coast. Packed all of our stuff into a moving truck, moved down there, drove across. Um, I kind of joke. I drove across them, and I took a lot of drugs with me. I was driving by myself. I was smoking meth the whole way, high as a kite. It took me 7 days to get there, to get to Nova Scotia, and I thought, well, if I can get away from Langley, then I'll
Mm-hmm.
be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, clearly was not the case. Now, I will admit I did clean up for a few weeks, but it was pretty quick. I was looking for it. I was looking for drugs, and I was trying to find it everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I picked up some Ritalin from a high school kid, and it got me right high. And I remember my wife came in. She was out for the day, and she came back, and she could tell if something wasn't right with me, and she was furious.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, to speed up the story, that was the night I left my wife and daughter in Nova Scotia and literally got in my car. I remember I went up real late at night. We had been fighting that day because I was high. I went and kissed them both on the forehead in the upstairs room because they weren't sleeping near me. And I said, I gotta go, and I left them.
Mm.
And it took me 7 days to get to Nova Scotia, and it took me 5 to get back to BC so I could get high. I mean, I
Mm.
was flying. I needed to get back to the West Coast, to get back into the I call it my first love. That crystal meth, it just sucked me, and it had me
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah.
My first day back in BC, I got my first criminal charge.
Mm.
I'll never forget. I had an officer knock on my door, on my window of my car in Cloverdale, and I opened the door, and out falls a crowbar, and I was ripping people off all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I was a full-time thief at that point. So yeah, it falls a crowbar. I got my first criminal charge, and from then on, over a 4 month span, Glenn, I
Mm-hmm.
would get charge after charge after charge:
Mm.
possession of drugs, possession of weapon, theft, and it doesn't matter what they were. There was a lot of them. I got pulled into the police station a number of times, and they would just give you fingerprints, and then they give you basically a little sheet of paper that says you promise to appear in court. And so I was just a terror. They would let me
Mm-hmm.
right out. I'd be looking for a car to steal the second I left the jail. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So
and
did you end up in jail then,
well,
eventually?
not from then. I'd only spent I maybe spend a couple hours in a local police station, or I'd spend the most I'd ever spent is a day or two,
Mm-hmm.
in like a weekend, and then they let you out after court. So the following Monday or whatever. But and then I'll never forget it. It was a month after Christmas, um, that following Christmas there, and I got pulled over, and I knew I was up in Walnut Grove, and I knew when I saw those sirens or the police
The lights, yeah.
lights in my rearview mirror, I knew that there was no chance I was getting back out this time. I knew
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, they pulled me in. They brought me to the real. They brought me to Surrey pre-trial, and I had to face the music.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets serious. This is where it gets real. And I, anyway, they put me in jail. I got the jumpsuit and the whole thing. And I'll tell you, I was riddled with fear. I was shame-filled. I was a broken young 23-year-old man, and now
Mm-hmm.
I'm in jail. I'm in jail, and my lawyer starts talking to me, and he starts telling me I'm going to do 5 to 7 years in prison. They're coming at me with 43 charges. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, oh my goodness, like this is getting very serious now. Uh, to say I was scared, to say I was scared is the minimum. I was freaked out. It was
Mm-hmm.
the worst case scenario. I was broken. Anyway, I ended up going to a church service in jail. In that little church service, I picked up a little red Gideon's Bible, a little burgundy one, about the size of the palm of your hand,
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't some special church service, but I had God's word that was given to me, and I brought that back to my cell. And of course, I'm reaching for anything that's going to help me. But I tell you, I went back to my cell and I started to read this little Gideon's Bible. And as I'm reading it day after day, I just feel God speaking to me through His Word. Now, I'd read lots of Bible stuff growing up, Bible
Yeah.
verses and
Yeah.
stuff that you get essentially assigned to you. But I'd never felt God's Word speak to me before. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I could read it and write it down, but
Mm-hmm.
long and short of it, the guys the guys all went out to yard one day, which essentially means they go outside.
Mm-hmm.
The whole jail goes outside for an hour or whatever, and I stayed back in my cell by myself, me and my Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I got down on my knees one day, and I just cried out to the Lord. Got down on my knees and something to the effect of, I said to God, I said, "This was not your plan for me. I know where did I went off course here somewhere." And I
Mm-hmm.
said this simple prayer. It was, if you get me out of this jam I'm in, Lord, I will serve you forever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Boy, isn't that line used a few times by people?
well, I didn't know the magnitude of what I was saying in the moment, but
Mm-hmm.
I know it was from a sincere heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like I was trying to get a deal, but I tell you, I did get a deal. I got dealt something radical that, in human terms, I can't actually explain. In Well, the best I can explain it is He gave me a new heart. He gave me forgiveness. He took those heaps of shame that were on my shoulder, gave me new confidence, gave me, he didn't condemn me. He did something. Jesus entered my heart in those moments and made me new inside.
Mm-hmm.
I've been I've been searching for something, I don't know what, for years. I've been running around ripping people off and screwing around and filling my body with garbage, and I couldn't get off of it. And
So,
also in that moment, I believe Jesus touched my body and just removed that drug addiction.
mm,
And I can I can testify today that since that day, I've never so much as craved, thought about, obsessed about ever that drug of choice that had me so bound up.
Mm.
And I know that's not everyone's story, and sometimes that's a hard one to hear, but that is what the Lord did for me.
Yeah, he healed you for sure, and had
Yeah.
to slow you down and get you into jail so that you could actually hear him.
Well, I was hearing him loud and clear. Well, I tell you, he just changed me. Like, and I remember I was a weeping, sobbing mess when I would call my wife from jail. All the previous phone calls,
Yeah.
and my next phone call to my wife, who's I'm in Surrey, BC. She's in Nova Scotia. Keep in mind, I'm talking to her on the other end of the country from a jail cell. What a lame situation. But I had a new confidence in my voice. Even I had,
Hmm.
like whatever happens, we're gonna get through this. And I'm like, something happened,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I know now. I know it was the Lord. The Lord did
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. So there probably was some excitement in her mind, and then also probably a little apprehension, right? Is this just another one of these roads that you're going down?
I mean, she could tell the story now, but I know she knew something was different, and she knew in her heart that everything was going to be okay. But she hated me, man.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all she could do. Now, keep in mind, she was working behind the scenes to help me get into a recovery program in Nova Scotia. She's a saint. She
Hmm.
still is. But she had a lot of hate and resent towards me because I had just burned her and hurt her
Yeah.
so badly over the
Yeah.
years. The Lord used her to help me get where I am today as well. So.
Mm. So as we kind of start winding down the latter part here now, like, so where did life go from there? You got a new heart, a new mind, a new outlook. That's a big change as you walk out the door of that jail.
Well, I got sentenced. So I was in jail for about 5 or 6 weeks. It wasn't a long spell, but it was long enough for me to know I never want to go back there
Hmm.
unless I'm on the other side of the glass,
Yeah.
the outside side. But anyway, I got sentenced got given a miracle as well. The judge sentenced me from Nova Scotia, from pardon me, from Surrey, BC jail cell to serve out a sentence, but as a conditional sentence at a recovery program in Nova Scotia.
Mm.
So literally, I got let out that day. I was in Nova Scotia a day later, and in that program that following day,
Mm.
and in a year at a farm. So I spent that year at the farm. I started to do really really well, and it was a secular recovery farm. There wasn't a lot of program, I wouldn't say. Like,
Hmm.
you could go to NA meetings or AA meetings if you wanted to. There was an optional counseling, but for the most part, we just worked around a farm. I
Yeah.
learned woodworking. I was in the wood shop, so I still do woodworking to this day because of that. I learned how to build furniture. Um, the Lord just had me on this trajectory that was just different, I think, um, than I even expected. I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be there for a year. At 9 months, they came to me, took me in the office, and said, "Kevin, you've um, you've been doing really well, and we want to ask you if you want to leave early."
Mm.
Um, and I said, "By all means, I
Wow.
do." And started out our life. I went home and basically just laid low,
Yeah.
got a job,
Yeah. There you go.
started to be a husband and a dad, and started to just, I don't know, build a life, build a
So then
life,
you, so you
and
ended up, yeah.
got plugged into the local church right away. That was
Okay. Oh,
a
good.
key element of my life. So
Mm. And then you ended up back in BC again. Like you've been just hopping back and forth, but this
so
time you're coming back for a different reason.
kind of explain it like this: we spent 7 years in Nova Scotia building our life.
Hmm.
In that time, the Lord was good to us. He gave us, like, we were able to buy a home, a second home, and then we were into our third home now, buying and selling houses. We
Hmm.
were just, that was what we are going for. And 2010, I felt this pang in my heart that we were supposed to go back to BC. I got 7 years of great stability, and we just, anyway, felt like we were supposed to go back.
Hmm.
So we ended up moving back to BC. We figured it was long enough we were away that it was time we could go back and feel confident about that. We didn't really know why, but we felt the Lord was directing us to, which was something that was foreign to us, to be honest.
And you probably were a little bit nervous too, right? Because so much
Because,
bad stuff had happened here.
well, it's really weird when you're in an area that you've essentially ripped a lot of people off. So everywhere I would go, I would see places that had done something. But you start getting back into the swing of things. That stuff just breaks off. You don't think about it anymore. So it took a minute, but um, one key thing I did when we got back to BC was we knew we had to get plugged into the local church right away,
Hmm.
and so we went to our very first church we went to was CLA Church, which it's your home church, I
Yep.
believe.
Yep.
And I remember we were saying we're not going to go to the very first place, but we're going to try a bunch of churches and see where we fit.
Yeah.
And we went and we never left. In that time, I was mentored by great leadership. I was I learned a lot of disciplines. I got I was talking about my story, which I never really did. I did not like talking about my past. We buried our past
Hmm.
deep. We did not want to talk about the nightmare, which was addiction.
Right.
And I happened to open my mouth up at a men's breakfast one day, early on in my days at CLA. And my pastor at the time, Pastor Brent Cantillon, he'd heard me sharing. And I must have shared for 10 seconds. And he turns over to me and he says, Kevin, I think you should go to Recovery Church. I said, why would I do that? I'm thinking in my head, why would I ever do that?
Hmm.
I'm not in recovery. I don't do recovery stuff. I don't. We didn't do anything recovery. We're just like, I'm healed. I'm done. That's a bad life.
Hmm.
Long and short of it, I trusted him. I believe he has godly wisdom, and I took that home with me, and I thought, man, Recovery Church. Oh, I guess I'm gonna check it out. I remember telling my wife, I said, I'm going to this. I'm going to go to this church service on Sunday night. It's called Recovery Church, and she looks at me. And she says, "Are everything okay? Like, what's wrong with you? You
Hmm.
don't do recovery stuff. Like, should I be worried?" And you you probably know the rest of the story, but
Yeah, like
I
we've got around 5 minutes left, but if you yeah, Recovery Church was the foundation for
well,
something
it's
special.
the foundation for I went there and I never left again.
Yeah.
I was asked to share my testimony, and then I was asked to do a few things in leadership, and then God just called us into deeper deeper roles in leadership, specifically at Recovery Church, and He grew us immensely in our family. He grew
Mm-hmm.
us immensely in our reach. He grew us. He took that horrible story that which once was an addiction mess and a shattered marriage and hopelessness, and he turned it into something that actually just described this to some guys the other day. So everyone has a junk drawer at home, and there's stuff you hide in there you don't want to deal with.
Hmm.
And everyone also has. Most people have like a shelf somewhere where they have things that are prized possessions, things they want to
Yeah.
look at, things they
Yeah.
want to pick out. And I just felt like I got to take that junk that I wanted to hide, and God used that to be the very like the pinnacle stuff that we can actually look back on and say, man, if I didn't go through that stuff, I wouldn't have gotten here today. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have been able to help many other people in their own addiction and their own struggles
Yeah.
in regards to that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So you did that for how long? You were the pastor of
well,
Recovery Church at that church that you came to. Uh,
well, 9 years.
9 years. Yeah.
9 years we were there, and then of
And
course
then
God
what happened?
expanded our reach even more. He called us back to the East Coast in early 2018. We felt the call, and 2019 we left to start a men's addiction recovery center in Halifax
Hmm.
called the Helm Center. It is still currently going to this day, and we've had dozens and dozens of men come through our program on this coast and get their lives right with the Lord and get, of course, have some help in breaking the cycle of addiction. We talk about restoration, purpose, and direction, and that's what we teach at the Helm. And so the
So
Lord is
the helm was kind of built in connection with similar to Wagner Hills
very,
out here
very,
too.
very similar. It's a 12-month discipleship program for guys to come get their lives back on track,
Hmm.
uh, and it's a full time staying at the program for a year. So
Yeah. And so where are you at with that? Still
well,
involved there? Or?
I am. We've currently just recently we've transferred over the leadership and the entity to another ministry. We're builders, like
Hmm. Yeah.
my wife and I are builders. We build stuff, and that's what we felt we were supposed to do. We built it, and now we've passed the torch to another incredible ministry. And in fact, we have a major hand in hiring some of the new leaders there, and we're still very much involved in regards to leading chapel, teaching classes, and of course being we'll call it a spiritual advisory from the sidelines now. So
Oh, good.
it's been beautiful. So.
Good. Well, as we wind down here, I'll give you a minute to challenge people in whatever you've got on your heart that you'd like to either encourage or challenge people or whatever with.
The utmost important thing that we can do and that I do on the daily is get up, and I get up early to meet with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, I want to encourage you to get up and meet with Jesus, or find a time that it actually costs you. Not the when it's convenient, when it costs you.
Yeah.
I believe that's what the Lord deserves. But when you meet with Jesus and you get into His Word and you talk to Him, He speaks in encouragement. He speaks in directives. He gives you the Bible says He gives us the very best plan for our life. And that has been integral in my walk with Jesus. It's been integral in my marriage. It's been integral in my building a life. And He's taken care of me, and I believe He's faithful and steadfast. And He can be faithful and steadfast for you as well. He's an almighty God. He's the King of Kings, and I would just encourage you to let Him be the King. Take off the thing that you're chasing today and give Him kingship over all of it.
Great words, Kevin. Great words to end this session. So, yeah, we could go on because there's a whole lot more. But and I'd love to one day maybe interview your wife, because I think there's a whole other side to that story. So
Oh yeah,
we may have to
she's a
do
great
that one.
interview too.
Yeah. Anyways, we're winding down here, but thank you very much for Kevin for taking time, and I just hope that this story reaches out and touches the hearts of lots of people. So, thank
Well, I
you.
appreciate you having me on, and God bless you all who are listening. So,
Yeah, stay strong out there on the East Coast.
peace.
All right.